if we the leader of the community, and if black women are so out of control, or modern women are so out of control, then ain't that on us?
Yeah.
Like, did we drop the ball somewhere? Because when I think about it, like, we are the least, if we just talk about black men and black women, we are less educated than them.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where we even starting to make less money than them.
Yeah.
I don't think we even in a position to hold them accountable. Hold each other accountable. Let them hold each other accountable, and then we kind of come back and meet in the middle.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Coffee Pod. My name is Shishi Zed.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
So Boyce Watkins shared a post on his Instagram that generated some controversy, and he was calling out black men in this post. The post read, "Black men haven't earned the right to hold black women accountable. If modern black women are so out of control, as Kevin Samuels fans claim, then it's black men's fault since we're the leaders." Without any further delay, let's get into it.
This is going to piss a lot of y'all off listening.
Nigga, what?
But I just got to be very honest with it. When I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute. If you in the sports, if you the leader of the team and the team loses, they going to come at you, right? Because you the leader.
You the quarterback.
If we the leader of the community, and if black women are so out of control, or modern women are so out of control, then ain't that on us?
Yeah.
Like, didn't we drop the ball somewhere? Because when I think about it, like, we are the least, if we just talk about black men and black women, we are less educated than them.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where we even starting to make less money than them.
Yeah.
I don't think we even in a position to hold them accountable. Hold each other accountable. Let them hold each other accountable, and then we kind of come back and meet in the middle.
This coffee smells like shit.
Okay, so you guys heard the video for yourself. So Boyce Watkins also had this to say. This was in the caption of the post. It read, "Whether you believe in black men or black women need to be held accountable, never forget that as the black man, you play a huge role in the state of the community around you. Hold yourself accountable first and ask yourself, am I taking care of my kids at the highest level? Am I reading books and learning new skills that put me ahead of the competition? Am I taking care of my physical and mental health? Am I honoring the black family and black woman in every way, or making the problem worse with my dating habits?" Of course, women and men need to be held accountable, but you can't have an unbalanced conversation. So there you heard it. That's what Boyce had to say. And there's a part of me that thinks that this might have something to do with that video of Dr. Umar telling women to stop belonging to the streets. The video was basically Dr. Umar telling black women, you know, you give your best years to the street dudes and the pretty boys, and then after you're used up, dogged out, now you're looking for a guy to take care of you, right? So let's address this topic and the question at hand. Black men haven't earned the right to hold black women accountable. If modern black women are so out of control, then it's black men's fault since black men are the leaders, and they have leaders there in quotation marks. So what we're looking at here, guys, is the issue of responsibility without authority. First off, man, shout out to Rollo Tomasi, author of The Rational Male and The Player's Handbook. Guys, go pick it up. Some of the concepts I'm going to talk about in this video I heard about a year ago on his platform for the first time. If men are the leaders and women are out of control, then aren't men responsible for women? Aren't black men responsible for black women if they are the leaders? I mean, on the surface, this question kind of makes sense. Aren't men the ultimate problem? Because, guys, this goes way beyond just the black community. But, you know, for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to keep it within the community. Aren't black men to blame? Because, hey, after all, you are the leaders. Well, the first thing we have to establish, and we all have to agree on this first, is that we live in a gynocentric society. We live in a society that is female empowerment based. That's the first thing we have to agree on. Yes, by nature, men are leaders, but the problem is the society we live in now has conditioned men to question their masculinity. The society we live in now has programmed men to think whatever is right is whatever uplifts women, is whatever uplifts female empowerment. And as men, we can try to speak out. You can try to go against the gynocentric society, female empowerment, but you will be censored, you will be canceled, you will be labeled toxic and the enemy. And in such a society, men have no authority and thus cannot be held responsible. Here's some other ways to look at this. You have people say things like, well, if men only stepped up and were more responsible for their families, if men only set a higher standard for themselves, then the world would change. And while that might sound good, it's a bit of a stretch considering that we live in a country with the highest rate of single mother households, backed up by a society that encourages women to be strong, independent women that don't need a man and can do it by themselves. And so that solution is unrealistic for men today and the men of tomorrow, right? Because while you can somehow, let's say somehow we convinced all, the men to go back to their baby mamas and start taking care of their kids, you still have female empowerment telling women that they don't need a man. You still have female empowerment trying to throw things off balance, trying to tell them that a masculine man is disposable, right? You don't need a man. You can do it all by yourself. You see, men today are like an employee for a company that's ran by all women. And the women hold all the management positions or influence men in those high positions to embrace or push that female narrative. And as a man, you're just an employee at the company. And so when people say things like, well, if men are in control and they're supposed to be leaders, then aren't they to blame? Well, you can't blame an employee for a company failing. Why? Because an employee has no authority to bring any real change. So if you can't bring any real change to the system, then what can you control? Well, you can work your 8 hours, clock out of the system. You can control your life. You can control your own personal life, what you do from day to day. And it's important that men understand that they can't accept responsibility or feel they're responsible where they don't have authority. As a man, you have to know what you can and can't control. And you have to be very, very careful to not put yourself in positions where you lack authority. That's why men often think twice before adopting kids or being a stepdad, or should think twice, right? Because we know a lot of guys here just jump into that shit. Because when it comes to being a stepdad, once you take a step back and you realize like, hey, I'll be in a position where I have no authority and all the responsibility for those kids, especially if you adopt them, you're going to look at that situation different, right? You won't like that coffee.
This coffee smells like shit.
This also points to why a lot of men today are hesitant to just jump into marriage, because they realize that if the worst happens, which there's a big chance the worst will happen. You will get divorced, most likely. There are people now that say, oh, divorce rates are the lowest they've ever been. They're actually, in a good place. Well, that's because less people are getting married. As a man, when you finally realize, like when I signed that paper, when I signed that marriage certificate, I tell guys like, hey, I'll probably get married and they think I'm crazy, but I won't sign any papers. And this is why when you sign those papers and you give all your authority to a female empowered society, you are now putting yourself in a position with all the responsibility and no authority. But let's get back to Boyce, man. So Boyce, he'll post these bunch of these posts like pandering to women. And, at one point, like I've said this before, I used to respect Boyce Watkins, but it slowly turned into just appreciation for his sort of like financial advice that he gives. That's what he's known for, is just financial advice. But he's starting to move into like giving people relationship advice and really starting to expose how he's a simp, right? He's a beta male provider, and I'll explain that more later. So not only did he make that post, he went in the comment section and started talking shit, right? Men who complain that a woman's standards are too high have two options. Either rise up to meet the standards or find a woman with a standard that you can meet. Sitting around complaining about women all day will never solve your problems and could make you look like a sucker, right? Says the guy who I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna keep focused here, guys. Okay. Guys, I want you to check out this study from Cornell University titled Economically Unattractive. It was released on January 8, 2020. So the first section I'm going to read from here is titled, Do Unmarried Women Face Shortages of Partners in the U.S.? So the article reads, fewer couples are tying the knot. Currently, barely more than half of adults in the U.S. say they're living with a spouse. In fact, according to some estimates, the marriage rate is the lowest in at least 150 years. So guys, here's where things get really interesting. According to new research by Daniel L., professor of policy analysis and management, one explanation for the decline in heterosexual marriage is the shortage of economically attractive men for unmarried women to marry. Women can't seem to find men who are economically attractive, right? Does this sound familiar to you? Let's keep reading. Published in the Journal of Marriage and Family, this new study reveals a significant scarcity of such potential male spouses. Lichter and fellow researchers developed estimates of socio-demographic characteristics of unmarried women's potential spouses who resemble the husbands of otherwise comparable married women. These estimates were compared with the actual distribution of unmarried men at the national and state and local level. So these researchers, based on women who were married, used that research to come up with an estimate of the type of man unmarried women are looking for. So after their research, they came to the conclusion that women's potential husband had an average income that was about 58% higher than the actual unmarried men currently available to unmarried women. So the women who aren't getting married are typically attracted to men who earn on average 58% higher than they do. They also were 30% more likely to be employed and 19% more likely to have a college education. Does any of this sound familiar? Because they're not telling you what these women look like, right? With these expectations, high standards, Boyce Watkins. The issue isn't that they aren't men who are stable, men who are not eligible to be husbands, to marry these women. The issue lies in the unrealistic standard of the women. And Boyce doesn't understand this. And he probably will never address this. Why? Because it would make him look bad. It would make him look like he's been wrong this whole time. He won't talk about this. Let's keep reading. The research found that racial ethnic minorities, especially black women, again, this is from Cornell University. This is not written by anybody in the manosphere. It's not written by any RP guys, right? Let's read that again. The research found that racial and ethnic minorities, especially black women, face serious shortages of potential marital partners, as do unmarried women with either lower or higher socioeconomic status. So this is on every level. On every level, a woman expects a man to earn 58% higher than she does. So guys, this isn't just a black man's issue. This isn't just a black woman's issue. Other races are dealing with this too. Now, are people in the black community dealing with it at a higher degree? Yes, they are. Right. So and I want to say that because a lot of you guys would say, oh, well, just go marry somewhere else. Nah, it's more than that. It's bigger than that. A lot of you guys who think you're going to fix this by just marrying outside the race. You're not going to fix this problem by marrying outside the race. This is a problem with the society we live in, the powers that be, right? It's real men versus emasculated men. So the article goes on to say, most American women hope to marry But current shortages of marriageable men, men with a stable job and good income, make this increasingly difficult. Now, that part of the article is what they had to say so that they don't appear like they're blaming women for anything, right? The responsibility always has to be on men. Men need to make more money. Men need to be stronger. Well, men out earn women, right? Two incomes come together. Now, you have a fighting chance. Are you going to be living the lavish Instagram life that has tricked you to think that's what all you women deserve, regardless of how you look? No, you probably won't, right? You're not lowering your standards. You're being realistic, but they don't like that coffee.
This coffee smells like shit.
They go on to say, especially in the current gig economy of unstable, low-paying service jobs, Lichtner said marriage is still based on love, but it also is fundamentally an economic transaction. Marriage is more of an economic transaction for women than it is for men, because they are the hypergamous gender. Men don't marry for money. Men marry for more idealistic reasons like love. That's why men are probably still more open to marry a feminine woman who doesn't earn as much, who knows how to cooperate with the man, of course. But the problem here is that women think that they all deserve a man within a certain income bracket, right? The top 10% of men. How do we know this? Because we see it all the time. We saw it on Kevin Samuels, right? We saw it on freaking Fresh and Fit. You see it everywhere. You see that when you finally strip everything away and a woman realizes that only a small percentage of men make this much and they have all the options in the world and they're not going to settle for you at 35, at 50, at 45, or even 25, 28 with that attitude, overweight. You might be good looking, but he's just not going to pick you. Why? Because she's good looking too, and she's good looking too. And they realize their competition. They say, you know what? Then I just don't want to get married. To close out here, I'm going to end with this. Boyce said, strong men who have their shit together and choose quality women don't have as many problems as poor men who think his self-worth is in his income and credit score. And this is exactly why Boyce doesn't get it and probably never will. It's not about men not having their shit together, Boyce. 61 to 64% of black men are in the middle class. There are plenty of single black men, right? Now you have Dr. Umar of all people, who's decided to go against, regardless of whether you think he is like ulterior motives or whatever, he's realized the truth. It's not about the quality of the men. It's about the unrealistic standards of the women. And of course, Boyce is like, hey, just become a millionaire and everything will work out. Does it help? Yes, but that's not a solution for all men. And I encourage men, is like, get your shit together, man. Like, get out here, improve your life. I tell you to do that. You guys know, you've heard the other videos, right? But at the same time, you got to know game. You have to know game. It's not just about the money anymore. Boyce thinks, oh yeah, just get your shit together, everything will fall in place. Why? Because that happened to him. His wife, currently right now, he wanted her back when he was like in college. She didn't want him. She went off, had a different relationship with another guy who she did find attractive, had his kids. Boyce became successful. Now she found him attractive. And now they're together. And so it makes sense that Boyce is like, guys, all you got to do is get your shit together and everything will work out. Does it help? Yes, but you're incomplete in your solution, and you have a lack of understanding of the true problem here. The responsibility for women's choices and their delusion is not on men. It's bigger than that. And making more money isn't going to fix your beta mindset, the programming that they've put inside of you to shun away from your masculinity, to do what Boyce is doing and pander to women. See, in the past, you could trust that, hey, if I provide for a woman, if I do the traditional thing, protect her and provide for her, that will be enough. That's not enough today, man. You got to have her mind, bro. You have to know game. You have to know female nature. You've got to know how to pull back. You've got to know how to ration your availability to a woman. You're not appreciated the way you used to be. You've got to know the way a woman works, right? This is why a lot of this shit is popular. You're dealing with a woman today, man, you've got to have her mind. And also embrace that alpha mentality and be your own man. Be ready to walk away in case you have to. You got to be aware of the current dating market. Before I close out, guys, here, a few more comments here from Boyce. He says, it's hilarious how there are men and women in our community who think they play no role whatsoever in the shortcomings of the other group. Every broken black man was likely raised by a black woman. Every struggling woman had a father. We are all in this together. Yeah, we're all in this together, but we never hear you address the women. So rather than sitting around about what other people aren't doing, as if your shit don't stink, try focusing on bettering yourself. A black man who has his shit together has a lot more options, gets far more respect from women than a man who shows up raggedy, ignorant, lazy, and incompetent. Oh yeah, you can say that when you are a millionaire. See, Boyce became a millionaire and he's like, hey guys, that's the solution. While I agree, get yourself together, yes, but you can't dismiss everything else that you need. You need a woman who respects you. You need a woman who understands, who's not living in delusion like your modern women. A man who's not a millionaire can score a good woman who's in the right mindset. But because Boyce got what he wanted through being a beta male provider, he's like, that's a solution for everybody. And this is the problem with guys who really don't have any real infield experience getting women, giving dating advice to men who are out here in the field, right? He goes on to say, rather than do the work, many of these men, parentheses, women too, yeah, okay, just sit back and complain as the world owes them something. Get your shit together and you'll find yourself with a lot more options. That's what it means to be a winner. Okay, so the question is, what do women consider getting your shit together? Well, they consider you being preferably part of the top 10%, right? Majority of women, cool. Okay, we understand that. Well, can we all be part of that? No, we can't, right? And some women eventually realize, I'm asking for a man who has options, and honestly, I don't want to lose weight. Like, I get it. I'm asking for a little bit too much. And the only reason I feel entitled to this is because maybe I'm making some money and it's not really that much. Right. And I need to be more realistic about my standards. That's what Boyce needs to also talk about, which he will never mention. Because once you do that, now you're public enemy number one. So look out, Dr. Umar. That's what he won't mention. And some women out here, I want to give women credit, do eventually realize, like, you know what? I'm being crazy. Why do I need a guy with all these qualifications? What am I bringing to him? Right? I can't give that guy what he wants. Let me be more realistic. And then they're realistic and they find somebody and things work out. Gonna read a few comments here, guys. This commenter says, Boyce, love him some simp content. Laugh out loud. Boyce responded and says, so says a super simp, right? He likes to go back and forth with you. If you go comment on his stuff, go have a blast. Another commenter says, simping is real. Again, Boyce responds and says, yes, there's a lot of simping on Kevin's channel. I mean, like, dude, really? I mean, the man's dead now and you have time now to talk shit. Out of all things, that's what causes me to lose the most respect from Boyce. You were not doing this, bro, while the man was alive. You weren't out here like just, yeah, boys. Now you have the confidence. It speaks to the character of the person. Another person commented and says, Doc, you got to stop. You're making things worse. If anything, have a panel with folks that still have their jersey on. Right? Yeah, because his jersey was retired You are looking like a confident sailor going in the wrong direction. Boyce responds and says, stop complaining about black women and raise your standards.
God damn it! You can't make this shit up.
So guys, there it is. Listen, you can be your own man. You can embrace that alpha mentality, control what you can, and try to keep as much authority as you can as possible. Hey guys, as always, curious to know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. I appreciate you guys for checking out another episode of The Coffee Pod. Till next time, man. I'm out. Peace.